Oh,
taking over everything.
I gotcha. Cool. All right. Well, we'll get started with who's in here already. Um, Obviously with the email, you guys generally have an idea of what I was leaning towards going over. Just kind of an update on your specific location, kind of what your plans are, maybe. Are you in profit mode? What kind of equipment you have? How many employees you have? And then what are the difficulties in your business that you're running through? Whether it be something you dealt with last year and how you got through it, or something you're dealing with now as we're all in spring rush. And obviously, by everybody's face, we all have that sun and we're a little bit wore out, it looks like, but it looks like everybody's already done working for the day. So that's a positive. And then maybe something that you can give the rest of the guys, whether it's positive encouragement, a book that you're going through, just something along those lines. And if you have nothing, that's completely cool. I don't want this to be like, who's got the better business or who's doing better than the rest. Like I want it to be very uh even keel where everybody can hopefully get something out of it. The screen is being recorded. And I am planning on probably putting this in the Facebook group for everybody else so that hopefully, somebody can get, even if it's just one thing or one new book to listen to or whatever. Hopefully somebody can get something out of this. So, anyways, with that being said, Connor, how's your audio? You can just give me like a yes or a no. You were the first one on, so you can start us off. Looks like he's getting set up. 1 minute. All right, we may have Logan start then.
Is
I
that any
just
better?
So much better.
Okay, good. I just went into like the storage room over here at
Okay,
church. So
cool.
that's where I'm at with it.
Logan, I'm gonna
Um
mute you just in
okay.
case there's feedback or anything.
yeah, so
Alrighty. Cool. Connor, take it away.
yep. So my 3 minute tidbit is just so whenever we went to training, I came in as I would say as kind of like a family business. And then turning around last year, I think in July or so, I was like, okay, there is no growth mode because we're running so low on cash. I just have to have something. And I kind of did the working GM model. And then we started being profitable the final quarter. Going into this year, we were able to save in some cash. Um, and we're still a little bit lower than I would like. But I was just talking with Dustin yesterday, and then I asked a question in the mastermind about we're already only the fourth week of April, and we're already at capacity on the labor side. So I'm really thinking that I just while the momentum is here, because I remember last year, like telling Brice and Dustin, I'm like, man, I just wish I just need more work. Like we just got to make the money work. And so I think we've kind of really honed in we really honed in our estimate calculator, and we actually lowered prices by anywhere between 5 and like 15%, depending on what category you're in on the per thousand square footage. I pretty much use the same ones that Chuck is using. And I was like, well, if that works, then I know that that truly works. So then I just really have to stick to it. And then I think this year we're at like 140 budgeted hours at the moment. And then I'm thinking that we're going to go ahead and fill the rest of our trucks with 180 to 200 or so budgeted hours between three trucks with two guys in each truck. And just kind of let that ball keep rolling because I feel like if I don't, I'm going to regret it next year. Because just as soon as I needed the momentum and we're starting to pick it up, but I think we'll still be highly profitable this year because I already have all the assets. I may need to buy another mower, like a zero turn, just so that way we have a backup. So maybe upgrade one to come down, and then we'll trade out an older one and use it as a backup. But I'm still hoping that we can hit about that $600,000 mark if I really max out the capacity. Because I think on the budgeted hour side, 180 times our hourly rate is just shy of 60,000 a month. That doesn't even include projects like the material markup, e fees, dump fees, and
Is that
all
your
of that. So
that's your capacity right now then?
yeah, on the labor side, if we're going off of 30 budgeted hours per person, just on the standard. So I think our route density is getting a whole lot better. It's definitely taken a lot of work. Last year was definitely an eye opener for me. I just was running on fumes, both cash and both mentally, and I just definitely feel a whole lot better this year. It's probably more so I just have a plan, but that's kind of where my long and short of it is at the moment. Don't know if you have
Cool.
anything more specific than that.
Yeah, so obviously we talk a lot, so I know some of the inner workings. So something that you're working through right now is like your push mower issues. And like I know in the mastermind you'd asked a question about um that guy with the RV. Maybe can you expound on what are you doing right now with your push mower issue and how did things end up with RV guy?
Yeah, so we need 3 push mowers for our crew to run, and then when we have 4 of the 30. So one went in the shop, and then 2 went in the shop, and then yesterday 3 went in the shop. So thankfully I'm super close with several of the lawn and landscape people here around town. So I actually have 2 push mowers from them, and we're making it work just on the bare bones with no backup at the moment. So I borrowed a 21 inch and I borrowed a 33-inch walk behind, and we're just making it work the best that we can. And thankfully, we're just not slowing down a whole lot. And then as for the RV situation, I kind of just basically told the guy we're innocent until proven guilty, and he's just gonna have to live with that, unfortunately, until he finds other proof. I mean, like I met with him, I talked to him, I saw it, I took some pictures. And it was like $2,700, and I'm like, man, I've never met you. This is a brand new property. Like I know nothing, and there wasn't even like any scuff paint marks on the mower or on his RV because it was a bright red Ferris. So I mean, like if you're gonna slam into it, it's gonna scuff up to some degree. And I was like, it's almost 10 days after the fact. I was like, you could
Yeah.
have done this on the highway. Like I don't. So as of right now, I kind of just told him, unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do. And he sent me, I think, 2 emails after that. But at the moment, I did tell him if you find video proof that I will 100% support whatever that that dictates. But at the moment, it's just tough because you want to believe people, you don't want the bad review, but at the same time, people just aren't always honest either, and we're just guilty by association of being on the property. I believe is really what it comes down to.
Cool. Anything, word of encouragement, a book you're listening to right now or reading? Anything
Yeah,
along that?
I just finished the compound effect, and it's talking about doing little things every day, how they add up over the maybe not the course of 6 months or a year, but over the course of multiple years. Like their example is if you want to lose weight, you could cut 100 calories a day. Like if you're eating 3,100, go down to 3,000 calories a day. And then like over the course of time, that 100 calories does build up. And I think us as business owners, we want to see change immediately. But I think just taking slow progress, or I think concise progressive actions over time lead us to that success. And then overnight, we're the instant millionaires or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we made
Yep.
it. But it's the slow grind over time that is consistent and steady and,
Sweet.
you know, equitable on our emotional side as well.
Cool. All righty. That is Connor. Logan, you were next to join, so you are up, sir.
It's kind of funny seeing you
Connor.
look at your clock.
Thank you, Connor, by the way.
Yeah, Connor, that was really awesome. And I know we talked quite a bit too, so I get a little bit more insight into what you're dealing with. But I think for everyone, and obviously I'll probably speak more at the end, but it's really exciting to see how far all of us have come from what we knew when we first met at training to where we are now. Granted, I don't speak with every single one of you on, even a weekly or monthly basis, but I see your posts on Facebook and your questions on the mastermind, and it's super exciting to see how much further all of us have come compared to where we started. So a little bit about where we're at. Obviously, when I came to training, I brought Chris, I brought Sam, I brought like 2 guys with me, and I'm thinking, okay, these guys are going to be, help me grow this thing up. Well, now neither of them are here anymore, and I've got a totally new guy running the Columbus location. So we've definitely turned things in a totally different direction than I had assumed we would, which is great. So for a little more context, right now I'm in Grand Island, Nebraska, which is about an hour and 15 minutes away from Columbus. Columbus is the original location that, I transitioned Logan's Lawns into when we first joined. That's where I met all of you when we transitioned that brand into. So I'm on my second location now. Not for good or bad or anything, but as far as some of the more notable things that have happened in the last year and a half or so would be, well, we've established a lot more pricing structures. So a lot more of our mows and our small jobs have been a lot more standardized and set to more achievable budgeted hours. We've redone a lot of the way that we go about bidding properties, bidding things, and I mean, really just implementing all the things that I'm sure we all implemented, at the start. Because we had some of that done ahead of time before we really transitioned to Brandon, I felt like it gave us a little bit more of a head start, and we could make minor tweaks or minor adjustments that compounded, like Connor was just talking about. We could change little things in our pricing matrix to really set the budgeted hours right. We could make little tweaks to our estimates and the way we do our meetings and things like that to really compound where things are. So right now, Brandon Coombs is the manager in Columbus. He has been with me for about 2 years. So he was there before we transitioned into Augusta. And Brandon hasn't had any real manager experience. He hasn't really been a leader or anything like that in a work environment thus far. He's 30 and he's, like I said, been with us for a couple of years. He's really good at what he does in the field. And over the last, 3-4 months that we've been working on this manager thing, he's come up a really long way. And that is so rewarding as an entrepreneur and a leader to see that somebody is, able to, I'm able to put what I've learned over the last 6-7 years of doing this, kind of summarize it all up and then really teach it to somebody. I think that is probably one of the most rewarding things I've been able to do thus far, though I'm certain that that trend is going to continue as we continue to grow. But our goal for Columbus, and what Brandon and I have kind of landed on, is to run 5 people full time. Right now we have 4 trucks and a car in Columbus. So we'll have Brandon will join a couple guys each couple days each week, and we'll have one team of 2. So we want to run about 165 to 175 budgeted hours each week, which should land us somewhere around that $500,000 mark. With that as well, I'm really hoping that we can see a decent bit of profit out of Columbus this year. However, right now we're running about 125 to 130 budgeted hours. But if you come to Nebraska, you'll see that truthfully, half these lawns haven't even been mowed yet. Shit is still super brown here. And it's a little weird considering how close to May we are, but I'm confident that throughout all of May and most of June, we'll continue to pick up. So right now we're at 3 full-time, but Brandon's got another employee on the roster and ready to get going in Columbus. And we're going to get that 5th guy as soon as we can as well, and really try to run that top of that plateau, like Connor was saying, this year, and hopefully get some profit out of the location. And really, hopefully, Brandon can develop his managerial skills and learn what all there is to learn about running a location.
Yeah, so I'm going to cut you off. So your goals, you got 2 more minutes. 1 more minute. The goals for Columbus, are you focusing on recurring revenue? What percentage is recurring revenue right now? And I had another question. Oh, how many estimates have you sent out so far, do you think, roughly, if you don't have an idea?
Yeah, so as far as recurring, we are focusing really heavily on recurring. Right now, we're looking at about 85 to 90 budgeted hours of recurring, which makes up about 70 to 75% of the total work that we do in a week. However, our goal is to run 4 guys full-time on recurring, which puts us about 120 to 130 out of the total 165. So we're shooting for that 70, 80% mark in Columbus. What was your other question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, percentage of mowing, and then how many estimates have you sent out?
Right. So for the year so far, we've done about a little under 200 estimates, but I know Brandon's got a dispatch board full of estimates for Friday, and we've really only started to get busy within the last 2 to 3 weeks. So I see that number continuing to be 30, 40 per week.
Last one real quick, percentage close ratio.
Close ratio in Columbus, we're probably sitting at about, I want to say 40% or so. I haven't dived super deep into the whole year, but I know in Grand Island, we're sitting about 50%, and I've got about 60, 70 budgeted hours on the schedule each week, including projects and stuff.
Cool. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Pete, I believe you were next. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on these. But you are up.
Pete was next.
Hey.
Cool.
Yeah, can you guys hear me? I was having issues with my.
No, you're golden,
Good to
man.
go?
You're
Okay.
good. Yep.
Yes. How's everybody doing? Yeah, thanks for setting this up. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
So, but Yeah, I don't know where to start. It's all been pretty good, to be honest. I mean, it's got the usual slumps, you know. But I mean, I'll go over our setup right now. So we have 3 trucks, and not counting myself, we got 5 employees.
Okay.
So I'm bouncing around like, okay, who can work teams of 2, who works best solo? And I got a quick question for everybody is like, so like when you got your new guys that aren't experienced, you know, they're usually sent out push mowing. They have a hard time meeting P for P, right? So they look at someone like my son. He's riding a standard mower. He's doing 12 lawns a day, no problem. They're getting a little discouraged. Does anybody experiment with? Can you lower the labor rate for mowing to help these guys out, or I need, you know what I mean? I need some ideas there to how to.
Yeah, so I think that I'll just real quick answer it. The price for your mowing should reflect the smallest piece of equipment that you have. So worst case scenario, like if you have a 21-inch push mower, then technically every yard should be priced as if you're going to mow it with a 21-inch push mower. I believe that'd be the recommendation. We don't do that in Bloomington, just because we do have 4 riders. And so if 1 or 2 went down, we could still potentially get them all done. But that's kind of the short gist of that.
Yeah, around here it's like ideal, really, the 3-foot standard mowers, but
Yep.
trusting a new guy to jump on one of those, you know, things are $10,000 now, you know, that it's a little hairy.
Learning curve.
So yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how to get them motivated because you know they learn about P for P. I almost regret teaching them or telling them about it, you know, because that's all they care about, and then and then they're not getting their P for P.
Yep.
So I'll probably change that to what the 40% for the mowing, for the next 2 months anyway, like Mike was saying.
Gotcha.
And try that out. That was my plan next. What else? Oh, just you guys like do you go like daily revenues? Do you track your guys like hey, you know, I always just kind of set a goal like each guy $500 a day, just keep it simple. But
Yeah,
what's the cutoff for you guys if the guy's not are you keeping him around if he's only making you 300 a day and
yeah.
training? Yeah.
Feel free to unmute yourself too, so I'm not the only guy answering questions, but we track it solely off of budgeted hours. So like we had a rain day on, let's see, yesterday in Bloomington. So the guys only worked like 4.5 hours. They got like 3.5 to 5 budgeted hours done in the day, just because we did lose half. If they were getting like 1.5 done, then we'd have an issue. I don't track anything off of revenue just because of e-fees and dump fees. It just get too complicated.
Yeah.
I will chime in a bit on that one. We do pretty hard tracking of what each employee does, mostly on a per week basis. Per day is a little bit more variable, so we do it more per week. But we usually tell our guys like within a month we should be able to see at least 28 budgeted hours in your 40-hour period. That's about 75, close to % efficiency score.
Okay.
Anything lower than that, we're going to probably revisit some training or revisit some other things because that's pretty achievable for most people
Same here.
to do.
Pretty much identical to Logan.
Yeah.
You want to see some good momentum within the first week. And usually if they're not willing to change in the second week, then usually I let them go at that point.
Yeah. All right. And then let's see. Probably the biggest thing this year though is like, yeah, there's no shortage of work. So now it's just like keeping myself out of trouble. So I'm turning away a lot of work. I don't know if you guys are doing the same thing. Where it's a lot nicer this year, you can kind of nitpick versus last year, you're just taking anything and getting in trouble. I call it.
Bidding stuff you shouldn't be bidding, you mean?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Just like I guess bigger projects that hey, maybe you don't have the skilled labor for, and then you regret it because you end up having to do all the work, stuff like that. And then are any of you guys still in the field, or do you have enough employees where you're just kind of working on the business?
Still in the field, baby.
Yeah, so I'm at 5 people. So I'm kind of at that point where it's like, trying to get out of the field to work on it because it feels like I'm, what do they call that, the what's keeping the business from expanding, what do they call that,
Bottleneck.
the bottleneck. Thank you.
Bottleneck.
So I was just wondering what you guys went through if you're already out of the field, like what did it take to make that jump finally? And then did you have to hire like 2 more guys just to replace you, really?
That's a tough one because like I was maybe halftime in the field last year as I was getting ready to leave Bloomington and start the second location. Now I'm full time in the field again with doing estimates at night and stuff in the new location. So it's kind of, back and forth. But yeah, that's a tough one. I don't necessarily have the answer for you on that.
Yeah, I was just wondering what anybody else's experiences were.
I told my guy today, who is likely going to be my GM, I need to start working for you guys, not with you guys. And it has nothing to do with like disrespect in the field. Like my job needs to be that we can fill the schedule. And
Yeah.
that's where I need to be right now. Cause I'm at 4 looking at hiring 2 more. So right where you are, Pete. And that's just kind of where I'm at the moment. So it's going to suck. And you're going to have a week or 2 where you're going to probably have a little bit more yell slips, or it's going to feel weird and you're not helping them. But at this point, we just have to absorb as many estimates as we possibly can, schedule out and get all of that, because that's going to affect us in the winter as well. And we need that winter recurring for winter services and everything else as well.
Yeah, because that's where I hit that point. Like I can't really do the quality estimates that I want. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not spending the time I need to. So it's affecting my close ratio, so.
For sure.
All right.
Cool.
And hey, one more question though. Like I was just thinking back to like February's people's numbers. Like I was gonna contact Brian Connor because he did pretty good. Say it was like 40K that month. And do you know what guys are doing for winter work as far as, besides not snow removal, obviously Virginia Beach, but what are they doing in February that they're making 40 grand in a month? That's is it maintenance?
Yeah, I think it comes with volume. So like if you look at his overall revenue for last year, it was like maybe 1.6, maybe. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was. But with that much revenue, you're going to have so many more customers that you can upsell on winter services. He's also in Georgia. I don't know if they can work year round. Like us, we get snow and we're not going to do anything for 4 weeks. You can't see the ground.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends on time of year, but yeah, anybody got something to add on that? And then we got to go to the next guy. We're also on a time constraint because I don't have premium. So
yeah, I got you.
We got 40 minutes. So we're going to move to the next one. I believe it was Brice. And Brice, you got till 7:29.
All right, everyone hear me fine?
29. Yep, you're golden.
All right, awesome.
Thanks, Pete.
Awesome. So last year was definitely a learning curve. Pretty much I had a lot of turnover, a lot of employee issues, and instead of now, what I would do now is just be quick to hire, keep the funnel full and all that stuff. Last year I kind of quit in a way. Like I kind of just went back in the field, just made it me and Kobe. Some of you guys have met Kobe, and we just grinded out and just did ourselves, and kind of reverted back to the year before we joined Augusta. We just reverted back, and this is kind of June-ish when this happened, so we still could have hired and moved forward, but we didn't. So this year, obviously having Kobe join and him bought in and all that other stuff, we're really focused on getting me out of the field towards the end of the summer. He has GM, he wants to be a general manager of the Van Wert, so I can open another location next year. So that's kind of our goal. But right now, we're struggling to get reoccurring mowing. So that's kind of our focus right now. I just had a coaching call last week with Chuck, and pretty much I just ordered 1,000 more instant quotes, and we're going even cheaper, which hurt to do, but we are. So we're going to hand those out next week. And then so hopefully that will increase our recurring mows. That's our main focus, because right now, we're probably 50-50 with 50% being recurring mows and 50% being projects. Obviously, that will hurt in July and August when those projects start to slow down. So, that's our main focus right now. 2 guys start next week. I think may be solid. obviously you just don't know until, you know, they start. So besides that, I mean, I'm sure, you know, Chuck warned me, hey, be prepared if, you know, one of them doesn't work out, or maybe even both of them don't work out. So, you know, we're preparing for that right now. It's just Kobe and I and one other guy. He's a little, I would probably say a little slower than someone that's been with us for 2 months now. And, um, you know, kept him around due to, you know, not having someone to replace him with. Also, he's a great culture fit. So that's also a little bit of a struggle, is that he's very bought in. He does the Audible programs, does all this other stuff. We just can't figure out what's not getting him over the hump of his efficiency scores. He's right around base rate about daily, where Kobe is, you know, way above on the same routes. So yeah, so our struggle this year is just going to be training people, and that's going to be our biggest struggle, and then also you know, the recurring modes. That's our biggest focus right now. So that way, towards the end of summer, I can start, you know, transitioning Kobe into like a working GM model, and then hopefully next year start a second location.
Sweet. Thanks, Brice. I just got a note that says that we're gonna get kicked off in 7 minutes, so I'm trying to figure out how to buy it. Let's see here. Anything else you got for us? Any books you're listening to right now?
Yeah, right now I'm listening to Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I'm not a big guy into motivation. That's not really my thing. I'm the type to watch a hype video and not be hype. I don't know why. Kobe makes fun of me about it, but that book, for some weird reason, I think it's his bluntness, really gets me like want to just work a 14-hour day, no problem. Like I don't know if maybe it's because he says a bunch of F-bombs. I don't know, but really gets me going. That's a great book. If you guys ever down need some motivation, I would 1000% listen to that book.
That's actually the book I'm listening to currently too. So,
That's wild.
or I think I just finished it. So,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm only halfway through.
gotcha. Yeah, it ends good too. So sweet. Thank you, Brice. Max, I believe that you are next, and I'm gonna try to figure out how to buy this while you're talking. So I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to figure
Do you
this
want to just like
out.
you could create another meeting probably, and then you don't
Oh,
have to
really?
buy it.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
then
not
you'll
a
have
bad
another
idea.
40-minute stint, right?
Yeah, just invite us all over again. We'll join up.
All right, I'll real big tech guy here, so let me figure that out and I'll shoot that over to you guys.
Okay. Do you want me to go while you're doing that, or
Yep.
do you want me to wait?
Yep. Take
Okay.
her away.
Okay. Well, hey everyone, good to see y'all. And so we're in growth mode. We've got 4 vans, 4 employees, aiming for 500,000 ish in gross revenue this year, and like a 33% profit margin if possible. And the reason I think that we can grow in top line and bottom line is because last year we essentially overbought assets in terms of the vehicles. So I think this year we can just grow to capacity and be more profitable because of the increased work and not having to purchase a lot of capital expenditures. Second thing was like a low point. So like 2 weeks ago, there was like a number of things that happened in quick succession. And at the time, it was a Canadian difference of 500,000 versus USD. Okay, well, and taxes. Okay, well, when like the exchange rate would just be one thing. I don't know what the exchange rate is exactly, but US dollars are definitely stronger than Canadian dollars. And so it'd be less than that. But the difference in taxes would be like we're running a corporation. And so there are some cool tax advantages. So if you have a corporation in Canada that profits less than $500,000, so you could have a pretty big corporation at that point in terms of gross revenue. So if the profit is less than $500,000, the corporate tax on that is only 11.5%. And then you just pay yourself whatever you need to live on and keep the rest in the corporation. And then you can even transfer it into like a holding company. And so that way it's sheltered in case that you're like sued or something, so that they're not on those funds aren't on the table. But that's kind of what we're doing. And then in Canada, like it depends on your household income, but you do get some money from the government if you have kids. And so my wife and I have 2 little girls right now. And so essentially we just try to like minimize our income as much as possible to maximize how much we get from that. Anyway, that was a tangent, but low point was 2 weeks ago, and there was just like 4 things that happened in pretty quick succession. So one, found out that one of my employees was lying, and thankfully I caught it on the same day that it occurred. But he was going to properties and saying that they were complete, and they weren't complete at all. Like he did a little bit in the front yard, but not the backyard, and just completed 5 budget hours of work in 45 minutes. So that's when you know that somebody is lying. And the second thing was a different employee left the ramp down on one of the vans, and went to like go across the street, and he didn't damage any other vehicles, thankfully, but it ripped the ramp like right out of the bed of the van and like dented the door, and essentially it caused like $10,000 of damage. And actually I had just raised the deductible. My deductible used to be for comprehensive insurance, it was like $300, and I raised it to 2,500, so that kind of sucked. And then I went back to the insurance and I was like, so what do you guys recommend that I have the deductible? And they're like, well, 300 for comprehensive, 500 for collision. So that's how it breaks down here. It might be different in the States, but comprehensive is like, I don't know, if a tree falls on your car, and collision is obviously if you go into someone else. And then that same employee that caused all the damage, like 2 days later, he was like, yeah, I think I want to quit. And I think it was because he was feeling a lot of guilt or shame about what had happened. And then he was just wanting to just distance himself from the situation. And he was the guy that had kind of joined last year and gone through the winter. He's the one guy that I kept on through the winter. So at the time, it kind of sucked to hear that. And then the last thing that happened in that week was last year I purchased like a number of new vehicles, because all the used vehicles, especially the vans, were really hard to find. And so at the end of the season, I brought it in for its first oil change. And then I noticed that this one van was smelling like oil on the inside. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if it was like the mower in the back or what was going on. But I was at the gas station. I noticed that the headlamp had like a bit of grease on the top, and it was oil. And so then I opened the hood. That's really weird. And like it's all sprayed with oil on the underside of the hood, and it's like covering the entire engine. And so then I found out that when I took it to this oil change place, they forgot to put the cap back on, which obviously is not good because I can destroy an engine. This vehicle has like 6,500 kilometers on it. So in any case, it seems like we averted the crisis, and there was still enough oil in there. Like I topped it up right away and brought it over, and they checked it out, and it seems like it's fine. So we'll see. But at the time, that really, honestly, it didn't like affect me too much. I was able to keep my head through most of it. But then the last like 3 or 4 days, like I've felt pretty low emotionally. And I think that how I generally work is I don't get like too excited or into things in the moment that they occur, but then they kind of trail a little bit, and then I feel it a little more later on. So yeah, there's just a couple days where it's like, why am I doing this? Like lots of feelings of doubt or like conflicted. So that was some of it, but I'm gonna stop there just in case the host.
We're definitely gonna get kicked off, and I
Yeah.
cannot figure this out until this like closes, because I guess whatever window I'm in, I don't know, man. I don't know tech for shit. So I'll tell you what, I'll probably end this one, and I'll send you guys an email like right away as soon as I get this thing figured out. Hopefully we're not down for very long, so we still got 2 guys. So
Can I ask a quick question for Max before we end? Max, how are, looking back on the last year or so, do you still think the vans were the right move, or do you almost wish like ramp racks, or how do you like the vans compared to like ramp rack trucks?
No, I think vans are definitely better in our market. If I was doing anything differently, I wouldn't get as many of the small vans. I would just go with the high top vans. The small vans